So thank you very much for coming today, Justin.
It's a pleasure to be here, brother.
Yes. So what's your story? Let's start from the beginning. Let's start from that.
Great, man. Yeah. So it kind of all started, a lot of people always talk about when they were younger, selling chocolates, selling baseball cards. And, I've done all that. But I think for me, like the main click for me really was when I was in college. I was never a great student.
Mm,
By any means, I was always somebody that thought C's got degrees. I would go to class just because, that's what my parents really wanted me to do.
mm,
And I kind of, what was it? It was about junior year into college. So my third year into college, I found a position where I was doing sales for a local business. I got enrolled with sales, and we would go knocking door to door to a bunch of local businesses in this campus. I went to the University of Kentucky,
mm,
and it would be really hot summers, really cold winters. We would have to knock door to door. And that was kind of like where my journey in a way started, where I
mm,
really learned a lot about sales. And then from that point moving forward, about a year later, I realized that it's like, hey man, why am I collecting a 10% check when I'm doing all the work? All I have to do is just figure out how to do the back end.
mm,
So I invested in some programs, some courses to learn how to run ads, how to do the marketing. And I got a couple clients. It was a really rocky road of like how to, get them results, keep them as clients. But, fast forward 5 years from now, it's been one hell of a journey, man. It's just been something where it's like anytime I get money, I've kept them reinvesting into myself, into courses, into mentors to get me to that next level. So here I am 5 years later. I've worked with over 100 local businesses. I've spent over $1 million in ads, and I've also coached 200 plus students on
mm.
how to do the same thing that I've been doing.
Wow, 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 wow. The interesting thing is that I feel like I'm part of that story, because I have been following that journey closely, and it's almost as if every time there's a transformation in personal development for you, there has been a massive change. What is that? What is that? In terms of personal development, is that something that you're consciously doing, or is it something that's happening along the way?
That's a great question, man. I think at first it was something that, because to be honest with you, when I first started in this space, my mindset and my habits were terrible. Like when I
Mm,
was in college,
mm,
I was just my weekends every day. Really, I would just go out, hang out with friends, go to the bar. Not do anything that was moving me in the right direction.
mm,
Whereas after I graduated, it was one of those things where I had to. I'm a big Napoleon Hill fan,
mm,
and Think and Grow Rich. He talks about basically burning the ships. So that's what I did. I quote unquote burned the ships,
mm.
which was like making me have no option to go back, and that kind of forced me to really focus on my mindset. And at this point, it's something where like, it's kind of natural at this point where I'm always looking for something that will benefit me and help me get to that next level.
Wow. Thank you very much for that. Burning the ships. What does that mean? In terms, how do we translate that into our everyday lives?
Yeah, great question, man. So in the book Think and Grow Rich, if you or any of your viewers haven't read it yet,
Mm,
highly, highly recommend it. That's one of the books that was something I contributed to changing my life. He
mm,
talks about, I'm not 100% sure on all the details, but they talk about going into invading this country like back in the day where all the war was happening.
mm,
And the I guess whoever was going to invade the country was way outnumbered, and the leader says, "Hey, we're going to burn the ships,
No turning back.
meaning no turning back, right? No turning back. It's either we're going to win or we're going to die." So
Mm,
that's where the whole burn the ships come from, is like make it so you have no other option. You're
mm,
either going to succeed or you're going to fail. And for me, that's exactly what I did. When I graduated, man, I had 40, I think it was $42 in my name.
mm,
And I even went like $5,000 in debt just to figure out how to do this, because I was like, I'm either going to figure out how to do this or I'm going to fail.
mm,
And for me, it was like, I'm going to do it. And
mm. Wow.
here we are now.
You had how much in debt?
I went, so I took out, I applied for a credit card and invested 5K into just courses, coaches, mentors, just so I could learn how to do it. So I was in debt for a little bit, but it was one of those things where And biggest piece of advice for anyone that's getting started with this, like, take the risk. Like, the $5,000 in debt was just an investment because, 3, 6 months later, I was able to pay all that back
Wow,
and even make more from the skills that I learned from it.
wow, wow, wow. So from $42 in the bank, $5,000 in debt, into what you have right now, where you've spent millions. You like, it's amazing, man. It's really amazing what you're doing right now. And I'm interested in, because I also did door to door. I got an advice earlier on. Hey, listen, if you want to be a good entrepreneur, go do some door to door. And there were,
Mhm.
of course, a few things that I picked up personally. But I'm interested in your own story. What were you selling? And what was there any valuable lessons that you would say you picked up, into your entrepreneurial journey?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like you said, man, door to door sales is like, if you want to learn a good skill that'll suit you for the rest of your life, like that's the type of stuff that your average person doesn't do.
Mm,
And I mean, I had basic sales experience at the time, I thought, where I was just like, I could sell stuff, but like once you do door to door sales, like that's a whole nother thing.
mm,
And I always laugh about this, man. The first appointment I ever went into,
mm,
well, first off, I was selling print and digital ads to local businesses.
mm.
And the first local business I went into, because we had to like memorize a pitch, like get to the decision maker, get them on a meeting. And the first person I went and talked to, like, dude, I literally couldn't even speak. Like, I was so nervous. Like, everything just didn't come out. And like, I remember after walking out of there, because I was with someone I was working with, one of my friends as well. And I look at her, I'm like, that was terrible. And she's like, you're right. But how do you feel? I was like, I feel good,
Mm,
like, and then I went to the next one.
mm,
And the next one was a little bit better. It wasn't great, but I kept getting better and better and better. And it
mm,
made me realize that you just have to get started. Like the
mm,
first time, like just, it's never going to be perfect. Even with everything I'm doing right now, like I'm creating a Black Friday launch. Like I know not everything's going to be perfect, but it's a lot better than it was last year
mm.
just because I'm doing it and I'm constantly getting better every single day.
Wow, wow. And would you 100% advise anyone, young, old, who is trying to get into entrepreneurship, to go do some door to door?
I think it's a great way to get started. I don't think it's necessary, especially everything that's going on in this world right now.
Yeah,
Just because, I mean, right now, like we're on a Zoom call.
using
I
code.
think that's a whole no, I think that's the easiest way to get started with everything.
Mhm,
If you want to build real life experience and really understand and get good at sales and putting yourself in uncomfortable situations,
mm.
that's a door to door sales or is a great way to get started for sure.
Okay. So what were some of the challenges that you had to overcome? That with overcoming them came the reward. What were some of those challenges, and how did you overcome those?
Yeah, it's a great question, man. I think it's important to recognize that I kind of look at entrepreneurship as kind of like a video game, right?
Mm,
There's level one, level two, level three, and you just keep going up. It's really never ending until, I don't know, I guess until you retire or quit, which, most people that get in this space, it's kind of hard to do that
mm,
because you kind of fall in love with what you do.
mm,
But I think for me, the biggest challenge is just each level, right? Like at first, my biggest challenge was like, all right, if I can just make 10K a month, I'm going to be good. I'm going to be good. I'm going to be great. Everything's going to be good.
mm,
And I made 10K a month. And then there was another challenge. It's like, all right, well, how to make 25K a month? Okay,
mm,
I did that. How do I make 50K a month? Okay, how do I do that? And it's like, you got to keep going and going. And every single level, there's something different. And like one of the biggest experiences that I had was after I hit 50K a month, it was hiring the right employees.
mm,
And I had zero, I'd never hired anybody before in my life other than like, virtual assistants and
mm,
anything like that. But like hiring employees that you have on a salary
mm,
is a whole nother thing. And like if you don't know what you're doing, and like at the time I didn't, you make big mistakes. And one of those big mistakes can cost you a lot of money.
mm,
And, we've had those experiences inside our business where we hired the wrong people and then it just backfired. So
mm,
I've learned from it though, and it's just like everything else. You just have to kind of getting back to the door to door experience,
mm.
just get started and learn as you go and progress.
Mm. Wow. And you mentioned credit cards, and I noticed that in your community, you talk to them about credit cards. You know how to live almost for nothing, travel, hotels. What's that about? How did you learn all of that?
Yeah, man. So that's a great question as well. When I first got started, I invested into because I saw like I followed a lot of people. I think that's the first step for anyone that's getting started is start following the people that you want to be like.
Mm.
And that's what I did. And I started following these people that were traveling for free and they talked about credit and all this stuff. So started learning more about it, paying people for hour consultations to learn more about it. The long story short, me and one of my good friends, best friend, and actually old roommate, Jeff Seckinger, we lived together and we started, he got really big into credit and would help me out as well. So it's one of those things where I just kind of gradually learned all the inside and outs of credit cards.
Mm.
But basically, and one of the reasons I got in this business model is because it makes so much sense. Is you go out there, you charge your client, you charge a local business high ticket, right? Like let's say $3,000 a month.
Mm.
And of that $3,000, 500 or 1,000 of that goes towards ad spend.
Mm.
And that ad spend you put on a credit card, and certain credit cards, after you meet certain criteria, like certain spend, there's some credit cards that you get like 4x points on for, ad spend. That all comes back to you, so
Wow.
you can travel for free. So like I'm just constantly racking up points, spending money on my credit card. So I can't tell you. I mean, it's been a very long time since I've actually had to pay for my travels.
People travel. Wow. And that funds the lifestyle. You're living the lifestyle that most entrepreneurs are either dreaming of or are trying to fake. You're living that life. And this can be attributed to the credit cards. What you learned about the finance world, the banks, and how credit card works. Wow,
Yeah,
wow,
correct.
amazing. And what made you choose digital marketing?
Yeah. So when I was doing the door to door sales, I was selling print and digital at the time. So like newspaper ads, and the company I worked for had their own platform. It was called the Odyssey. I think they're still around right now. If anyone's checking on here, you can check out the odysseyonline.com. It
Mm.
was basically like a newspaper and digital platform for Greek students, sororities and fraternities that we would just sell this stuff to. And I saw the transition as I started selling it more to businesses, that this was kind of like when things were going from newspaper to digital. I saw the transition of how the company was transforming, getting rid of paper, going to digital. And I also started picking up on the cues more of like every time when I was like on my way to class or in the bus going to school, like everybody was constantly on their phones.
Mm.
So it kind of clicked with me. It's like, well, the future of this world is digital. It's
Mm.
you look around, everybody's on their phone constantly.
Mm.
So that's where I realized, is like, hey, I can already sell this stuff. If I can just learn how to do it, everything else would make sense. So that's
Mm.
kind of how I got into it.
Mm. Wow. So you kept on leveraging on your existing skills, your existing awareness. And is that something you teach? Is that something you show people how to do? Not to go too far from where they already are, and leverage on. Is that something you show people how to do?
Yeah, yeah. So we call it the low hanging fruit. One of the
Mm.
first exercises we get with anybody that gets enrolled in my program is called the Six Figure Boss, which is like a agency accelerator.
Mm.
Anyone that first gets in there, the first thing we do on the call is say, "Hey, where's your low hanging fruit? How can we go after that?"
Mm. The low hanging fruit. Is that? I mean, would you want to share the formula to getting that low hanging fruit? How do you find that low hanging fruit in your life?
Yeah, great question, man. It all comes down to brainstorming because we all have it. It just, it's not at the top of our thought process all the
Mm.
time. So, what I'd recommend to do, and this goes for you and everybody watching this, is after this call, block off 30 minutes to an hour
Mm.
and turn off your phone, turn off your computer, turn off everything,
Mm.
and actually just get a piece of paper and start writing down anything that we use the low hanging fruit exercise as who in your network do you know that you could run ads for example? And, running the ads isn't the hard part. We can teach that within a couple of days, but it's more of who do you know that you can go contact? Who's one of your friends that's a business owner, or who's an aunt or uncle that's a business owner? Okay. Who's a family member that knows of a family member that's a business owner? It's like, it's kind of like you're just branching out on your trees. Who do you know that you can ask? Who's a friend? Who's an acquaintance? Who's somebody that's in your local area? Because we all have it. It's just, you got to unleash it and unlock it.
The low hanging fruit. So what made you want to coach other people? I mean, obviously you're already making so much money, and you could just keep scaling that. What made you want to help and bother with other people? Because it's what a lot of people don't know is that, and there's a lot of trashing and dragging of coaches right now. But it's hard to make someone else do the things that they want to do to achieve their goals. It's hard to impact what you know into other people. It's hard to carry people to the finish line. What made you want to do that? And what makes you keep going on doing that?
Yeah, I think it all started when when I first worked at that sales company doing door-to-door sales, my boss / mentor at the time would have Zoom calls like this once a week, where he would come on and teach people sales, go over strategies and stuff like that. And when I first got on, I was very intimidated, but towards when I was leaving the company, I loved it. I loved everything he did. And I would be super engaged on everything. I would even help out other people. And that kind of sparked an interest for the actual coaching and helping people. But it wasn't until, to be honest with you, man, it wasn't until I started my agency, started picking up some traction, seeing some results, seeing some success, that my brother, he reached out to me because, not to go too much into detail on it, but me and my brother were supposed to go into being mechanical engineers or in the real estate, because that's what my parents did. And we both did not want to become mechanical engineers. We both tested it out. We had internships working in an office and absolutely hated it. So he reached out to me when he was about to graduate college, and he's like, "Hey man, I don't want to do this. Can you help me do what you're doing? Can you teach me?" So I was like, "Yeah, sure, for sure. Of course, I got you." So I started teaching him and taught him everything I knew. And fast forward a little bit, he's been honestly the most successful student that's been through the program, because obviously he was the first one, but he's just seeing the impact that it's had on him was something that was like, okay, well, if I can have this big of an impact, and saw how much his life changed, I want to make it a goal to help 100 other entrepreneurs hit the 10K a month mark and automate it. So that's what my goal is for 2021 is, I've worked with a lot of entrepreneurs, but my goal is to actually have 100 case studies of people hitting 10K a month and having it work on autopilot, so you can ultimately achieve the true freedom that we're all looking for.
Wow. So that was how you looked at that and said, what if I can help 100 people? What would that do for the world? What would that do for someone right now? And personally, you went through, of course, probably not everything, not every course, not every book you read, not every mentor or guide was helpful, for the most part. So you what if I could be that person that people were, that person I wish someone was to me in the beginning, to just take it through that straight line to from where you are to where you're trying to get to. And tell us a little bit more about six figure box, right?
Correct.
Yeah, tell us a little bit more about the program.
Yeah, Six Figure Boss is a accelerator program where we work with a couple kinds of people. It's either the aspiring entrepreneur, someone that's maybe working a 9-to-5 right now, but has that insight where they want something better for their life. They see other people making money online, and it's something where we help transform those people from going from 0 to 10K a month. It's also the ones where we help current agency owners scale their marketing agencies, or maybe even the people that are just kind of dabbling around here and there in the entrepreneur space, kind of like how I was. Because when I got started, I was doing real estate, I was doing drop shipping, I was doing Forex, trying to do that whole quick get rich overnight thing, which naturally doesn't happen. So in a nutshell, it's basically we help aspiring entrepreneurs build and scale a $10,000 a month advertising agency and then set it on autopilot. So the whole goal is after 90 days, you have a $10,000 a month advertising agency that you can decide how much time you want to work on it. Because inside my agency, I work about 10 hours a week on it. And that's just, that's just making sure that everything's working the right way. So that's kind of what we portray and help other people do as well.
Wow, wow. And I remember you started helping chiropractors. What made you go for the chiropractors, and is that still something today?
Chiropractors, that's a great question. The reason I got into chiropractors was, and this is another reason why I got in the coaching space, because a lot of the information out there is just wrong. A lot of people just tell you wrong information, and I was told a lot of wrong information at first. The one thing was everyone was like, hey, go after, and they called this the quote unquote low hanging fruit at the time, chiropractors, dentists, gyms, real estate. And I was like, all right, I know some chiropractors. I've been to chiropractors. I've had, neck and back problems my whole life. So I was always constantly getting adjusted. So that's what all right, I'll go out to chiropractors. And I did that. It was good. I still have some clients I have a client right now. It's been with me for 3 years now that I always talk about, but I've had a lot of clients that in the chiropractic space. But we've recently transitioned from chiros to stem cell we're actually really big into solar right now, the solar industry. So we still work with a lot of chiropractors for sure. Just to be totally transparent with you, we worked with a countless number of different industries, but chiropractor was kind of like where we first got started.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. So for anyone who is trying to get from 0 to 10K, what can you leave with them? What can you say? Listen, this is the framework, or this is the mindset. These are the principles. If you want to get to that 10K right now, these are the things that you need to do.
It all starts with, you got to ask your question. This is, how fast do you want to get there? Everyone's different. If you're trying to get there within a year from now, if you're trying to, it depends where you're starting too. Like everybody's different. Like I started with $0 and I went in debt because again, I knew what I wanted and I knew how to get there. Whereas there's other people out there who are they're scared, and it's okay to be scared in this space because you don't know what's going to happen. But if you're serious about this, the first things first is just find somebody that you can just start modeling their information. You don't have to pay for them at first. Like you can go out there, like for example, me, I have a lot of YouTube videos out there that are honestly things I probably should charge for, but it's stuff that'll help you out. The next thing is like, if you're serious and you want to actually get to the point where you're getting fast results, like find a course, find a mentor. Courses are great, but like if you can actually get into a coaching program and surround yourself with like-minded students, that's what helps you get to the next level. That's what we provide in Six Figure Boss. And like, I'll be upfront and say with you guys, like that is your best option to get to the 10K a month mark. Like I've been in so many other programs. Like I've put everything I know into this. And that's why I'm so adamant of like, if anyone's serious on it, like reach out. Like we have probably one of the highest success rates in the industry just from what we teach in this program because it works. So that'd be my biggest advice.
And every day is amazing, because we're connected on social platform. Every day there's a testimonial. Every day there's a result. Every single minute, every single time I turn, there's a story and there's an update of someone who has hit the mark, who has hit the results. So for the people who are trying to come to you and say, look, I have tried every single thing. I've tried this guy's course, that guy's program, that coaching, that book, that this, and they finally say they want to get it done now. They're ready to do the work. They're ready to follow the truth. How can they find you? How can they connect with you? How can they connect with the Six Figure Boss?
Yeah, the easiest way is just reach out to me on Instagram. It's at Justin J Saunders, JustinJaySaunders. That would be the best way. You can stay up to date with me. I provide a lot of information on Six Figure Boss, where you can get more information, case studies, literally just everything's on Instagram.
Right. All right. And you reply so fast, and you have over 800 and something thousand people. You reply so fast. You personally respond to everyone. All right. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you very much for sharing your story, your truth, your message. And thank you very much for putting in the time, the work. You're one of those people I know that don't have to do it. You don't have to do it, but you put in the work, put in the time into creating something that can really help people. And thank you very much for coming today. I appreciate you, man.
Fortune, thanks for having me, brother. It's been a pleasure.
Yes. All right.